Wow. So,
Yeah.
what was that common to have kind of a sweet relationship between a soldier and the villagers there?
Oh, it was absolutely necessary for someone assigned to MACV as an advisor to develop relationships with everywhere from the province senior advisor, who was a colonel in the Vietnamese army, all the way down to the peasants. You know, you tried to make all of them feel comfortable and to know you and like you and respect you and listen to you, you know, if you had something to offer.
So, who all was there with you as well? Did you bring American troops? No.
No,
So,
no, I flew over Pan Am, landed in Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon, and the guy, we got on this. Well, first thing I noticed was the smell. I don't know if any of your other vets have ever talked about the smell in Vietnam. It's got a very unique
I've heard
smell.
about it some.
Uh, yeah, something like perfume and rotting garbage. It's a very unique smell. So I noticed that, and then we got on a bus, and the bus had um, steel grated windows. Um, and I'm going, you know, what are those for? And they said, oh, let's keep Charlie from throwing a grenade in here. So we said, okay, well, welcome to Vietnam.
And was that on your first day?
And the first
Wow.
day,
Quite
first
a
day,
quite an entrance.
just, oh, yes, quite an entrance. Then we got to the MACV transitional barracks, and they said, well, last night Charlie mortared the compound. So if that happens, we hadn't been issued weapons or anything yet. And they said, if that happens, just get under your bunks and we'll take care of it, you know. So luckily that didn't happen again. So, but it was kind of like, again, the first day we have this introduction.
Was it a shocking, like, what the heck am I doing here kind of moment, or were you somewhat prepared for this? Or did you expect it?
I didn't know what to expect in terms of my initial introduction to Vietnam, but it wasn't shocking. I knew I was going to a war-torn third world country, um, and so that wasn't a big deal. So no, I wasn't shocked by that. I don't think that I never got the sense that anyone was. Some people might have been, but I think they knew they were getting into a war zone, so that was something else. But I remember too, um, the next day or two, we were issued our green fatigues and underwear and weapons and what have you. And I remember my fatigues were just brand new and shiny, and they stood out because everyone else around us who had been there for a while, their fatigues were faded, and you can tell they had been in country for a while. And so I was so glad to finally have laundered my fatigues enough where they looked like I had been in country. I hated that new guy look because it just screamed new guy. Yeah.
If I may, I want to go back a little bit to what you were talking about as the your position in MacV. So when you were in the village, how many other Americans are with you?
Four or five. Like I said, I had me and an interpreter who was Vietnamese, a medic, and two NCOs. And occasionally some MAT teams had assistant team leaders too, but not all. All had that. And that was usually an officer as well.
Can you tell me a bit about what it was like to train the South Vietnamese forces? Were they well prepared when you got there?
That's tough to make an to make that assessment. Um, we would offer things, say like, okay, we're having a weapons maintenance class this afternoon. If you can come, please come. But again, keep in mind, these are people who are, you know, making a living, doing whatever they do, which is probably rice farming. Um, and sometimes they could make it and sometimes they couldn't. Um, so it was kind of catch as catch can as far as that goes. Um, we did go on, daylight operations, and one there was one night operation that I'll tell you about later on. That was interesting. Um, but that it was the sort of thing where I couldn't tell if they were just being courteous to the Americans or they actually really needed um, to learn some things. I think they were probably more seasoned warriors than I was, you know. So that was interesting. I wanted to go someplace else, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, go
Well,
ahead.
I'm just curious to hear more about, you said that they were seasoned warriors more so than you, but how organized were they? How did they compare to the American military?
I think that the biggest thing they got out of our being there at that time, this is in 71, was the fact that we could call medevacs and they couldn't. They didn't have medevacs. So if they had an injured soldier for some reason and who needed medevac, they would come to the advisors, and the advisors would, if we'd assess the situation and say, oh yeah, this guy needs a medevac, then we could call in a medevac for that. As far as actually teaching them, okay, now during a night operation, you got to do this or that. We were just kind of along for the ride. And if they did do something that we didn't think was safe or proper, then we could tell them about it or advise them about it. They're still the ones in charge. And so we had to kind of take a subservient role in that we're offering advice here. We're not giving orders.